We're on. We're live. Good morning. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our Wednesday morning SilviaFindings live stream event. We do this every Wednesday morning from 10:30 Pacific time to whenever, depending where you are. It'll be different. Just give us a chance to connect with our customers that we're not seeing at shows anymore because of the pandemic. We just got word that a couple of other shows that we had coming up in the fall have been canceled. So it stretches on. Who knows how long it'll be before we actually get to see our customers in person again at shows. But the showroom is here. We're always here. We're always open by appointment. We don't want to have crowds of people here, so we try to make sure that we get one set of people through at a time. And that's kind of been working out. It's good for local people, not so good if you're from far away. And that's why we're here, to help you answer any questions you have. So if you have any questions, please, jot them down in the comments and we'll work it out. I love going on tangents. If you've watched any of the other streams, my apologies. But if you have watched any of the other streams, you know that sometimes I get on a tangent and then I kind of go with it and it just kind of keeps going. And then I eventually work my way around back to where I started. But it could be fun. The more the more varied, the better. Before we get going too far, I just want to do a couple of what I call housekeeping things that we talk about every stream. We're SilviaFindings. We've been here since 2004. We're Canada's premier, I would say even probably the world's premier supplier of sterling silver findings. You'll never find a bigger selection of settings for stones that we have here. We stock everything in sterling silver, although we can, owning the factory has its perks. We can make whatever you want in gold, 14 karat, 18 karat, rose gold, you name it. Marble can do it. So if you share this live stream with your friends, your folks, things, stuff, we'll send you a free polishing cloth. We'll stick that in the mail. We'll know that you've done it, and we'll stick it in the mail, which may take longer than previously. This is my other rant that I go on every stream, and I'm not going to go on too long, except there's one other twist this week. Shipments within Canada are still, suffering the same problems that we've had since the beginning of the pandemic, although it is getting better. We're looking at like 2 weeks from West Coast to East Coast. So if you're shipping into Ontario or further east, you're looking at 14 days and then add a day probably for every province further east. I had a package that we just shipped to Alberta, so that's only one province over from us. That took 7 days, which I guess is not bad, compared to what it was, but it's still taking a while. The issue that we're having now, and I've had a couple of Etsy customers, comment on it, and I'm really sorry, nothing we can do about it, but the U.S. Postal Service is starting to slow down a lot. Shipment that we send from here we have a customer in Maryland who was complaining recently. Her orders normally only take about 6 days to get there from here to Maryland. And now we've had one that's like 2 weeks. And it seems like when you track it, it gets to a postal distribution center somewhere near there, and then it just stops, and then it stays there for a week or something. So I don't want to get the tinfoil hat on or anything, but anecdotally, I've been hearing that there's some political issues with the U.S. Postal Service and the slowdowns happening there. So Be aware that stuff going through the Postal Service is, if it's Canada or the rest of the world, that's just the way it is. It just takes forever. Into the U.S., there seems to be a manufactured slowdown that's happening with the mail. And I don't want to get into that thing because I don't want to get political. Don't get me started, people. I'm telling you, you don't want to get into that conversation. But you should know that's the thing. Obviously, the premium services DHL stuff is awesome. You're getting your stuff in like 2 days, 3 days. Um, Same into Europe, which is crazy to me. We shipped a DHL package to California that took 2 days. No, 3 days, because it shipped it on a Monday. It got there on Thursday. Um, and it took the same amount of time. We shipped from here to a customer in Germany, and it took 3 days. We shipped it on like a Tuesday, and she got it on a Friday. So it kind of blows my mind how quickly they're able to do that stuff. Yes, it's a premium service, so you're going to pay a lot more for it. But if it's something like, oh crap, I forgot to buy this, my wife, a present for her birthday, or I wanted to give my niece this thing, and I've got a stone, maybe I'll get a setting for it. If time-sensitive things, you might want to look at doing a premium service thing. But that's it. We're here. We ship every day. Getting more and more orders coming through on Etsy, which is great. We love our Etsy customers, so if you're looking at us through there, or if you found us through there, we're happy that you found us. I think our website is great. There's a lot more stuff on our website than there is on the Etsy site, because we just started Etsy, just putting a few settings on there. I tried to put on like the 100 most popular ones, and just ever since there, it's just been great. So we've been putting more and more stuff on there, and we've got lots more pendants. We've got lots of rings now, earring findings, all kinds of stuff going up on there. And we're having this conversation just the other day that I feel like the reason why Etsy is so popular for us, even though, at first glance, we're not really an Etsy kind of company, even though we do make the stuff. So, which is, the whole point of Etsy is, handmade stuff. We are the manufacturer of all these things. So, we're definitely an Etsy seller. But the point of Etsy is there's so many creative makers already on there, people who already have there. So it's kind of already, halfway into our niche, where if we're just a website on our own, it's hard to get the word out to the very small niche of people who would be interested in our product to actually look at it and things. So, but we're happy to see you on our website or on Etsy or however you find us. Call us on the phone, email us. Morse code, we'll decode it, we'll figure everything out. Anyway, today I wanted to talk about beads. Seems like a small subject, beads are beads. Beads, just something with a hole in it. Earliest beads that archaeologists have excavated have been around for 10,000 years, since before civilization was, well, I guess the civilization was around 10,000 years ago. Probably because there were beads. Beads have been used over the millennia, literally millennia, not just centuries, but millennia, for adornment, for commerce, in a certain period of time when the city-state of Venice were manufacturing these millefiori beads it's this technique they developed to make these glass beads look very cool and thing, and they were selling these into Africa for palm oil and slaves and stuff. So I mean, it was literally currency. And then there was a big fire that almost burnt down the whole city, so they relegated all of the glass factories to the island of Murano, where still a lot of them are. And it's a really good tourist trap if you want to go to, when you're in Venice, go to Murano and see the glass there. It's a lot of those factories have been around for 500 years, so it's definitely a cool thing to do. But you'll pay a lot for it. Anyway, so beads have been used for anything, and it's basically just something with a hole through it that you can string through or dangle off whatever. Obviously, all of our beads are sterling silver. Although again, if there's a bead that you particularly like and you say, "Hey, can you make me this in gold?" Yeah, we're happy to do that. We can do that. Obviously, the most common when you think of a bead, and I'm going to go small here, right? Is this, just plain old. I'm going to do this again. Make this get closer. Right, just plain old bead, nice smooth silver thing. These are deceptively tricky to make, because they've got to be hollow. Because if they're not hollow, they're super heavy, and when you're making them out of a precious metal like sterling silver, every gram costs more and increases the price. So these are deceptively difficult to make. They've got to be well, there's a couple different ways you can make them. I'm not going to go too far into the technology for how to make them, except a little bit later I'm going to talk a little bit about something else. It'll be a surprise, but it'll be cool. I promise. So this is those plain beads. We've got them in just about every size from I think 2.5 is the smallest. Yeah, 2.5 millimeter. 2 millimeter? 2 millimeter. No way. Oh, we do. Yeah. So we have 2 millimeter, plain round beads. Code number of that one is R200. That's only 11 cents each. Is a retail price. Wholesale price is 7 cents. And we've got these all the way up to, I think this is the biggest one, 12? This was 12, yeah. It's in another container. Yeah. But we have a 12 millimeter one. This is a 10 millimeter one. $4.36 is a retail price, and $2.73 is a wholesale price. So, and these, you see them anywhere. Anytime that you've got, golly, you can do anything with it. Big, plain rounds like this. I've seen them. I kind of always like it when, it's just a simple ear wire, a little length of chain, maybe an inch of chain, maybe a little bit less, 3/4 of an inch of chain, or maybe an inch or so, maybe longer. And a head pin goes through that, make a loop at the top, connect to the chain, and just have a little dangle with a thing. Or you can do the same idea with an eye pin and then a couple of dangles of chain at the end of that and just have a very cool thing. Very simple, very classic, but you can't go wrong. Beautiful, shiny, reflective thing. Relatively inexpensive. So that's just a plain round. We've got another kind of roundish flat round, right? So there's a round that's like a circular, and it's flat on the edges. It looks kind of like a short pony bead or a crow bead, that thing. Actually, I think these can be pretty much easily described as a pony bead. But these ones also are hollow. You can't really see the inside, but trust me, they're hollow. These are great. The big hole beads are great for, all kinds of adornments. If you're doing macrame, that kind of stuff. Things with big holes. You're stringing onto leather cord. If you want to use them as beads with holes this big, you can use them on Pandora necklaces and bracelets as a spacer. And golly, wasn't that a cool marketing gimmick, marketing scam? Pandora. Hey, let's take things with big holes and put them on a chain, and we'll use sterling tube rivets, and we'll come up with this very cool name, and we'll sell them in jewelry stores for 10 times the value, and people will soak it up and they'll love it. I'm not going to go too far on Pandora. That's Pandora the jewelry, not Pandora the music streaming service. Does that even exist anymore? That Pandora streaming service? So these uh, pony beads, I guess I call them pony beads. We've got them in a bunch of different dimensions. These are great spacers. Um, is 3.3 millimeter. One is the width, and 1.6 is the, or the width. 3.3 is the outside diameter, and 1.6 millimeter is the width of that. 30 cents each is the retail price. 18 cents is the retail price. Um, anyway, again, we've got these all kinds of different sizes. Have a look on the website. You'll be able to see all kinds of different sizes of those. I don't want to go too long on the thing because I'm going to end up being, 90 minutes again. Sorry. I promise that's not COVID-19. So here's a lovely just plain oval bead, rice shaped. I don't know what you'd call it. Oval. I call it an oval bead. Right. Nice and plain and shiny. That one's 4 by 7 millimeters, so 7 millimeters long, and 4 millimeters at the fattest edge. 61 cents each is the retail price. 43 cents each is the wholesale price. And people ask me a lot, fairly often, pretty often. Okay, sometimes. But I was just asked this week, and it made me think that I should mention that next time we have a stream. People say, why is there such a difference between the retail and the wholesale price? It's not like a standard thing, and there's not one standard percentage. It's not like the wholesale price is 30% off the retail price or 25% off the retail price. So many factors go into costing, the things. The obviously the weight of the material is a component, but it's only one component. Some things are very simple to make. They're just cast. It's one cast. You snip the end off, you polish the end, and boom, and that's it. You're done. Obviously, most of our settings and pendants are rhodium plated, so there's that after. But that's worked in. Sometimes there's more labor involved. You got to solder that little bail onto the top. There's extra labor. Sometimes you can't cast the piece directly as it is, and you need to cast a couple of different components to put them together. Sometimes, this is a good example because this is one of my favorite. Not one of my. This is definitely my favorite bead that we have here. My shop. So this is a wonderfully gruesome skull. Half his face is burnt off. Kind of thing, or melting, and he's got that brass crown of thorns, right? So this can't be cast as it is. Obviously, it has to be cast in two pieces, or maybe even three. No, probably just two. Difficult to cast, hollow things with holes through them because I don't want to get into the technical aspects of casting, but it's difficult to support when you've got the wax blank and you're doing the lost wax casting when the wax is when you're firing the flask and the wax is melting out of the thing, there's nothing supporting the inside. It's kind of like if you had a gap between the pit of a peach and the flesh of a peach, and if you shake it or anything, the pit can go loose and then knock up against the inside edge of the flesh of the peach, and then if you cast that, you'll end up with big gaping holes in there. So you've got to be able to support that. But anyway, neither here nor there. But then obviously this brass crown of thorns has to be cast separately and then soldered to the outside of that, and then they've got to be antiqued and everything. So that's kind of a pretty good example of why the price of this is $60.74 each for the retail price and $37.96 for the wholesale price. LE484. Again, it's one of my favorite beads because it's super labor intensive to make that bead, right? It's not just a question of I'm gonna do a spoiler. It's not just a question of casting two sides and soldering them together, or casting one piece and then folding it around having a machine press them into the shape of a sphere or something, which the way some of these are. Anyway, neither here nor there. I was kind of a spoiler with the thing because I have a whole tray of skull beads here that I was going to talk about. Right, so I got tons and tons of skull beads. You probably can't see them. Maybe I'll pull some of them out later and show them to you individually. There's that lovely skull with the... Okay, let's get a little more traditional. This probably one of the most iconic spacer beads ever, right? That Bali spacer, right? This one is a 5mm spacer, a daisy spacer. Some people call it a daisy spacer. There's a pretty famous casting company in America. I don't want to say who, but they make them out of pewter. They call them daisy spacers. 84 cents each is the retail price, and 56 is the wholesale price. This is just awesome because when it's stacked in between beads, it looks like a row of dots. If you can string this, maybe think if you have a bead that's interesting but not interesting enough, especially on the ends, when you're stringing a head pin through or an eye pin through or something. If you string one of these spacer beads on both sides, it automatically adds a lot more interest to the beads, to the outside of the beads. Thing. And again, we've got these in tons of sizes, everything from where am I gonna go back there? Everything from like 3mm to these 3mm ones are what are they? 36 cents each. We've got little bigger variations on ones. This is a little bit bigger one that has a bigger hole, 6mm width. I guess that's the thickness, or 6mm diameter and 2mm thick. But that's a pretty good size hole. That will fit onto easily 2 or 3mm leather. So all the way up to, here's an even bigger version of that one. Right, just great big, beautiful thick hole. SB4275 is $1.64 is the retail price. $1.10 is the wholesale price. Here's a little bit bigger, thicker version of this. Let me just pull one of these out, because this has that same presentation as the one I showed you before with the big hole, only the hole is smaller, right? So if you're stringing this with some other beads on soft flex cord or silk cord or something, you won't have that weird thing where the bead where the spacer bead is off center, from the beads that are in between, that are being spaced out. The other cool thing about this is that there's kind of like a ring around the inside, and there's kind of like the hole on the inside is indented, so that if you had beads up against either side of that, as long as they were strung together tightly enough, they wouldn't shift as much. The beads would kind of move like a knee in a knee socket. Those are some cool Bali beads, Bali style. I call them Bali style. Some variations on that. Here's a very typical, what they call a Hogan bead, right, tapered, on the edges, with that same granulation. Those dots on the outside, that's called granulation. These are just cast, so they're not real granulation. Granulation is when you make a bunch of silver dots and then you arrange them on the outside of a piece of something, and then using jewelry soldering, fusing almost, the soldering technique called eutectic bonding. I'm not going to go into the science of that because it's pretty technical. I need paper and and a graph to explain the different melting points of alloys. But you've seen them. You have different shapes, and then you have things with all kinds of dots around them, and then the dots are just soldered on. They're kind of the metal's heated to the temperature where the dots and the surface of the pieces fuse together, and let's call it solder. They're solder. Don't want to get too too far aflame. And that's those. Again, those other ones, the dots are just cast, so they're not really made separately and then soldered on. Here's a great tube bead. Tube, obviously, because it looks like a tube. I don't know how else to describe it. This is technically a Bali style bead, even though there's no granulation. I know that people tend to equate Bali beads or Bali style beads with granulation, but this is definitely in that category. It's got a great, what is that? That's only 12 millimeters long by 6 millimeters wide. $5.73 is your retail price, and $3.82 is your wholesale price. Again, you can use this. Probably wouldn't want to use this all the way through, just stringing a whole bunch of these together. They're great as spacers in between beads and an ear wire hanging, vertically, on an ear wire, or horizontally in a necklace or on a bracelet as a statement piece. Separating, bigger beads or smaller beads. I guess there's not really any right way or wrong way. Here's another really great bead. Years ago, I used to, well, not me alone, my wife and I used to own a retail bead store, and we used to sell these beads. They looked exactly like this, except they were steel. And we sold a ton of them. They were super heavy. They were super shiny. It's just a lovely, machine-looking tube bead with, kind of a spiral scallop. I don't know if you can see that. The camera's having trouble focusing. But this is just just a terrific thing. Somebody's calling. Hey, I love your live stream, is what they're saying. This is $1.09 on the retail price, and 68 cents is the wholesale price. Right, 6 millimeters wide, 4 millimeter wide, 6 millimeters long, 4 millimeters wide. Really good one. I love that. Now, how fancy do you want to get? Here's another tube bead, right? It has some kind of granulation-looking effects. Although this has cubic zirconias set all the way around it in kind of a almost pave style bead. And this bead, 14 millimeters is outside diameter, 6 millimeters is the thickness. This obviously, again, not the kind of thing that you would want to have, bunches of them in your necklace, but if you've got, say, two great big statement beads that you want to put together, this is a perfect spacer in between them. $19.60 is retail price, and $12.25 is your wholesale price. Obviously this things, although theoretically you could probably cast these with the stones in place, I don't think these were. These were probably set later. But either way, even if you do it where you set the stones and the wax and you cast these in place, you still got to set them all. The stones still have to be all set. So there's quite a bit of labor involved in that particular bead. Here's another one, another version of that. That's even more outrageously gorgeous, right? It's a kind of a, I don't know, oblong thing with a nice big hole, again, for that Pandora style. I don't even know, am I going to get in trouble for saying the word Pandora? Maybe. Although, Pandora, obviously we all know her from Greek mythology, but there's a couple of companies that are using the name, and I don't want to get too far into that. But for those style of bracelets with a big chain, you can get it. This goes perfectly. Just as a spacer in between there, and again the pave style setting. This one is only $14.01 retail price, $10.51 is a wholesale price. 4.7 millimeters. I'm not sure where that measurement comes. That's probably how wide it is. No. I can't see any measurement on here that's 4.7 millimeters, but that's neither here nor there. SB3008 is the number you need to know. That's just so cool. I love that bead. You guys must have noticed by now that I'm a big fan of the bling thing. Here's another thing I wanted to show you. This is a hollow bead, right? Where it's got, I guess you could theoretically you could string this either this way through these holes, or that way through those holes that are meant to be. And I don't know if you can see this seam all the way that goes all the way around there, right? These kind of beads are kind of labor intensive to make because you can't cast this directly in one piece, right? Obviously, there's got to be when you make the casting, the lost wax casting, there's a wax blank, and then you fire it in a flask, and then the flask has that investment. It's kind of like a clay, that creates the void space, and then when you cast it, the silver goes in between all those spaces. You couldn't really do something like this because there's no way for the inside, the hollow inside, to be stable in the flask when you're casting it. So you have to cast this in two halves. It's probably one mold that you just make multiples of, and you solder the two ends together. Like, imagine, and even though this is not really part of what I want to talk about today, imagine you got these caps, right? These lovely bead caps, right? Gorgeous. If you took two of these bead caps, and you might want to file the edges, that edge a little flatter, and put them together and solder them together. Boom, you've got an instant gorgeous bead, right? And that's kind of the way that they make those kind of really detailed hollow beads, is by making two ends and then soldering them together, filing the edges to make them all beautiful and polishing them, and then those have been antiqued and everything after the fact. So that bead cap, by the way, is BCM 361, $5.32 each. $3.19 is your wholesale price. Here's another cap. And again, this I don't want to talk too much about caps. But again, beautiful little cap, right? Imagine if you took those, soldered those together, right? You'd have a beautiful instant bead. And that's how they make those. I'm remembering back, of all the classes I've taught hundreds of metalsmithing, jewelry making classes, and one of the classes that was always really super popular is we would make beads like that. We did one class. Oh, where we took quarters. Put them in a dapping block, you know, the steel block with the indentations, and then the metal punches with the round thing on the end. You put the quarter, the side you want to be visible on the bead, into the bottom of the cavity, and then bang it into the thing, and you know, bend it into a dome. And then you know, you file the edges a little bit flat and put them together, two sides together, and solder them together, and instant bead. Um, and that was a lot of fun. That class. Um, And if you can find currency, now I'm not sure about Canadian currency, but I know that US currency, anything before 1965, there was more silver content in the coins. So they solder really well. The other ones, the later ones, I don't know the Canadian ones too, because I did it with Canadian coins. You just have to be careful when you solder them, because some of the finish on the surface looks really ugly after you solder it. And if you just pickle it, uh, if you know jewelry making, you know what I when I say pickle, you know what I mean. When you pickle it, it won't look any better. You have to use super pickle, so a little bit of pickle, a little bit of um, uh, hydrogen, no, hydrogen, you know, the hydrogen peroxide, the stuff you get in the pharmacy to put on your cuts and stuff, you know, that stuff. About half pickle hydrogen peroxide, throw it in there for a few minutes, and super pickle will get right back down to the metal. You polish it up and it looks gorgeous. Anyway, neither here nor there. But there is one point um, about that whole concept of taking you know, two sides of a dome of a cap and putting it together, and which segues beautifully into this lovely hollow bead, right? This leaf shape. You know, any old thing that's this kind of a shape, it's obviously two sides. You know, you can kind of see the seam here a little bit. You know, where those edges come together. But when you do these, you've got to do these in a hydraulic press or stamping or something, where you take a piece of sheet metal and you dome it into this shape, and then you flip the die over, and then you dome, you know, another side. Because if you just take two of these, you couldn't put two of these, you know, two of this together. You need to have a left and a right kind of thing, right? Does that make sense? Or like a mirror image. And then you know, so you take the thing, you make you know, one bulge one side, one bulge out the other side, and you know, and then you solder them together. So something like this is super labor intensive to make, you know, a bead like that. Although, just super interesting, super cool. And that lovely detail in there. That lovely leaf bead is SB3050. The retail price $18.47, and the wholesale price is $12.89. Again, truly a statement piece, right? And it looks like there's only two left of those, so if you want some, better get them now. Here's another awesome, kind of going everywhere. Not really a pattern here, thing, but that's okay, because you guys still follow me. Here's another kind of an oval tube with you know, a spiral, you know, sort of pattern. Again, you know, not easy to manufacture these things. I know it seems like it's such a simple thing, you know, but it's not like you can make these like with beads. If you have you know, a glass bead, very simple. You start with this steel mandrel with clay on the outside. You melt the glass onto that, you know, and you can make them that way. And then when you know, when the you cool it obviously in a kiln or whatever you cool it, then you just pull the glass rod out. That's why if you've ever bought beads that have clay on the inside of them or dust or something, and you wonder what is this stuff on the inside, that's how they make it, right? There's a steel rod with that clay on the outside. You melt the glass on the outside, and you pull the rod out, and boom, there's your hole. Semi-precious stones, or stones, it's easy. You make the shape, you drill the hole. They don't drill the hole all the way through. Here's a good tip. I think just totally out of the blue. You can't drill a hole all the way through a stone or a pearl because, and you know this if you've ever done this with wood, right? If you try to drill a hole all the way straight through a piece of wood, when the drill bit comes out the other end, it always splinters and cracks, right? That's why carpenter will always put a tape on the other side or thing or start drilling part way through the one end and then out the way through the other. Same thing with stones. The lapidary will drill part way through the stone and then turn the stone around and drill through the other side, because if the drill goes all the way through, when it comes out the other end, and especially bad with pearls, the edge will crack and you'll break it and get a big kind of ugly hole on the end, or the nacre will crack on a pearl and it'll be kind of ugly at the other end. So you may have noticed if you've ever bought semi-precious stones that are faceted, especially they're really noticeable. I noticed in gemstones from India, where you can see where the holes don't always meet up perfectly evenly. Some companies have a little better sense of quality control than others, or they're a little more careful with getting the holes lined up evenly. Um, so you may notice sometimes you're putting a piece of wire through a stone, and it goes about halfway through, then it stops and it doesn't go all the way through, and you can't figure out, oh, is my hole blocked? And you look through and you can see light through it, and you don't know what's going on. It's because the holes don't line up perfectly, and when you try to get the wire through, it gets caught on the thing. You can get string through it because the string can do that kind of thing, but when you try to put wire through, it doesn't work. Anyway. Theoretically, you could also do that with sterling silver, so you could just cast whatever thing, but it would only work if it was a solid bead, right? If you want to have hollow beads with which, when you're talking about sterling, you want the beads to be hollow because you don't want them to be super heavy or super expensive. So you can't drill a hole through in that, through it. The hole has to be um, uh, part of the whole manufacturing process. You have to imagine it ahead of time when you're doing it. Anyway, neither here nor there. But important to know that the whole has to be part of the part of the whole process. Something like this, right? Got that beautiful lotus bud, lotus flower, right? And this particular bead, I know that we've got a bunch of different sizes of this one. The one that you're looking at, this one here, is SB332. Oh no, SB4619. 332 is the retail price. See, my brain is going ahead of my voice. $3.32 is the retail price, and $2.07 is the wholesale price. 4 millimeters wide, or thick, I guess, by 9 millimeters is the diameter of that bead. And we have these all the way down. I think the smallest one off the top of my head, I think, is this one. It's a 6 millimeter version of that. And, same idea. That one is 594 SB 4614, and the biggest one, it's just a little bit different because it's not all the way open, but that same lotus bud thing. This one is 10 millimeters, SB4577, $8.16 is a retail price, $5.10 is a wholesale price. Now, most of these beads are drilled, up and down, I don't know, straight through, sort of thing. We've also got a bunch of these kind of, lovely beads. It's kind of flat. It's round shape is the presented side, right? So that's what you'd be looking at when it's strung. But it's flat on the outside edge, and kind of like almost like a really fat disc. I don't know if you can see that with the hole going through that way. So, you know, it's strung perpendicular to the plane of the bead. And that lovely little rose bead is SB4609. It's not hollow, so, you know, weight-wise, it's a little bit more than some of the other. $3.71 is a retail price. $2.32 is a wholesale price. You can get some others that are, you know, similar concepts, right? Kind of red to, you know, where's the hole? There it is. This one is kind of a square version of that, square bead, cube bead. But the edges are these lovely, I don't know, those poppies. It looks like a poppy to me, poppy flower, right? Flat edges. And that's an 8mm, you know, bead. SB4613. Is that going to focus? No, I'm too close. I don't want to let my fingers go because the beads will just spill out. $8.35 is the retail price. $5.22 is the wholesale price on that. Again, this is just a great spacer. I can imagine stacking these with, you know, really great big, you know, stone beads in between to kind of have a, you know, an alternating square round thing. You know, I find spacers are a lot more effective when they're not the same shape as, you know, the beads that they're spacing, if that makes sense. So I've shown you a bunch of really super, you know, complicated looking spacers, but here's one, just, you know, lovely, plain, pretty wide, you know, spacer bead. The hole goes through the side there, right? And this one has kind of like a, it's not like a round hole, it's kind of like an oval hole. So if you've got like leather strips or something, right, you can put that through or string that through, string a bead, put a bead inside that hole and then string a head pin or something through there, and you can have that as a frame on the outside of a of another bead. I think that's the best way to use that, actually, if I'm being perfectly honest. SB4627, $2.36 is the retail price, and $1.48 is the wholesale price. Again, this is it's not a hollow bead, but it's also not super heavy. There's a couple of other. This one is kind of a Bali style thing. It's got a nice big hole in it, and we've got a couple of beads that have really big holes in them, and this bead in particular, I got a good story. My sister got married just a little over a year ago, and her husband has a beard, a nice long beard, and he normally has the center of his beard tied, you know, with a rubber band or a thing or whatever. But for his wedding, he wanted to dress it up, so I bought a couple of these beads for him to put inside. He put the thing, and he decorated his beard with these lovely, you know, sterling beads. It looked very like Lord of the Rings dwarven, you know. It was great. But it looked really nice. I mean, the idea is, you know, seemed weird to me at the time. When he asked me, "Hey, Mark, can you buy me a couple of big, you know, beads with big holes for my beard?" But then, you know, he looked great. That one, that big, you know, Bali style. Again, it's a nice big bead, but it's hollow, so, you know, it's a little bit less expensive. $2.30 is the retail price. $1.44 is the wholesale price. That one, SB4605. Here's another really great, and I looked for it, but I couldn't find it. I'm pretty sure we also have this in a really big version somewhere. But anyway, I don't know if you could see the detail on that. It's a lovely, I don't know what you'd call it, Rococo almost sort of style, right? That lovely, designs of scroll work, I think. Hollow bead, right? Hole on one side, hole on the other. This is great. It's nice and light. It adds a super, interesting texture to your whatever. But the cool thing about this is that whatever is behind it, so if you have it on an earring, you'll be able to see, bits of hair or neck behind it. If you're wearing a blouse and it's green, you'll be able to see, green through it. Just very cool. And that one is SB4598. The retail price is $5.50, and the wholesale price is $3.30. Um, um, let me show you something else that's cool. And this, I'm going to get a little technical here, but that's okay. We've got a couple of beads, or some of these beads we've got that are they're not antiqued, right? This is kind of like a Bali style, good Bali style oval. You probably can't really see very well because of the black background and the thing. Oh, there you go. Let's see a little better. So this texture, right? The texture elements are all super shiny, and the background is almost, it looks white almost. This is a metalsmith's trick that, I used to use all the time, where you take the piece when you're done and you pickle it, which is just like in a kind of an acid, right, to remove all the cupric oxide and stuff from the surface when you solder. Because when you solder things silver, they turn black, right? And you got to clean that. And pickle's the easiest way to do that. If you leave sterling silver in pickle for a long time, you get this very cool effect where the acid begins to dissolve the surface past the surface. Like normally the cupric oxide, the black stuff that's on the surface is just on the surface, and the pickle will begin to dissolve that and clean it up, and then you can polish it up to make it look beautiful. But once the acid starts beginning to dissolve the surface of the sterling silver, it'll remove the copper molecules first before it removes the silver molecules. So the surface won't be flat, it'll be like pitted, like microscopic pits. So the light that hits the surface of that doesn't bounce straight back off. It bounces out in all these diffuse angles, and it diffuses the light and makes it look white. If you polish it, right, then it'll all become flat, and the light will bounce straight back off the surface, and it'll look shiny. But if you take something like that bead, right, something like this, where's my camera thing, right? So something like that, where you make this white effect on the whole bead, and then you polish just the highlights, right? Just the elements on the surface. You get this very cool effect where the surface elements are very shiny and silver, and the background elements that didn't have access to the polishing cloths will become white. Like if you took this bead and you put it in a tumbler with a bunch of very tiny steel shot, you would eventually end up with completely silver, bright silver bead that you can antique or whatever. Although if you were going to antique it, I would antique it now before we do anything to it. But it's kind of the reverse concept of antiquing, right? Antiquing, you take the piece, you throw all of it in the antiquing solution, the whole thing turns black, and then you polish the outside, and all of the highlighted areas become polished and become silver, and all the nooks and crannies and crevices stay black. And that's how it gives you that antique look. It looks old, I guess. Here's another, right, on the same idea of that gorgeous. It's just a beautiful texture, beautiful surface surface effect. I love that. Very cool design on the bead too. This one, this round one. is SB4583. Retail price is $11.11, and the wholesale price is $6.67. Why didn't we just do 666 as a real wholesale price? I guess that would be demonic. Better to do that. Add 1 cent. That's like office buildings where there's no 13th floor, right? Do they still do that anymore, or is it still? So anyway, let me just show you this. Let's back up a little bit. Show you this, right? So obviously we've got trays and trays of these beads. 93 minutes. I've done almost an hour already. I haven't even talked about so many of the beads I wanted to talk about. I don't know, off the top of my head, we've got like 30 trays of beads that are just, beads, 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 and beads. So as far as those plain rounds and ovals and ponies that I talked about at the beginning, right? And then these are just, we have, two kinds of, if you've ever seen us at shows, the thing, we've got these bottles that are short and these other ones that are tall for the bigger ones. That's just these rounds and the short trays. We have other trays that are trays of the tall bottles that also have just plain beads. I'm not gonna go into too much detail again on some of these things. I'm just gonna skip through some of these. Again, more of those that just very cool texture. And this bead, I know that, oh, here. So this bead right here, where am I? This one here. We've also got, an antique version of that, right? So, that's that same surface texture on those things. Got tons of those beads. Oh, too many beads. Is there such a thing as too many beads? I don't know. This is a perfect representation of that, what I wanted to show you before. Obviously this kind of a thing, it would be impossible to cast this, right? It's hollow, nice big, what they call annular bead is the shape of that bead, or a lifesaver, maybe. But if you look at that, what is that guy's name? Nomenclature of beads, name I can't remember. ORR, I think, is the guy, some archaeologist who was digging up beads, and he developed a whole naming system for beads that people have used. Anyway, this was called annular, is the thing. SB4481 is the code. $12.63 is the retail price. $7.90 is the wholesale price. So again, this is cast in two separate pieces and then soldered together, right? And this one has holes there. See the holes there? Oh, you can string through that, or you can use it this way. Although I think it looks way better this way. Even if you strung, imagine if you strung this through this and put a gorgeous gemstone in there, right? Right in the center of that. Oh, imagine a pair. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Pair of earrings, right? You have an ear wire, something very simple, like a little length of chain, couple millimeters, 3-4 millimeters of chain, then an eye pin going through this, a gemstone in the middle, and then just a headband on the bottom. Just angle that off there. Instant winner. I'm designing stuff right off the top of my head. I've got so much stuff to put away. I think here's another smaller version, right? Another annular bead. This one doesn't have a hole, going sideways. So this is made specifically to be a spacer. And I don't know if you can see the texture on there. It's kind of very subtle, very tiny, very gorgeous, floral texture. SB4610 is the code number. $2.46 is the retail price. $1.54 is the wholesale price. Got so many more beads. So many more beads I want to talk about. I'm never going to be able to talk about them all. But Marvel will get mad if I don't talk about these things. So gold, yes, we have gold beads. You know, these lovely gold spacer beads. Let me just talk about a few of them. So obviously, we've got the standard, you know, plain gold. And these are not plated, right? Obviously, these are solid gold, right? 4mm bead, KR400. Y for the yellow gold. $11.60 is the retail price. $7.25 is the wholesale price. Ooh, you know what? Some of these prices might change because of the, you know, how volatile the precious metals market is. We've got rounds. Do I have a smaller version? I don't think I've got a bigger version of this one to show you this. I don't know if you could see that. It's faceted looking bead, right? It's still a round bead, right? But there's kind of facets all the way around it. Very gorgeous, very sparkly. That one, KBD 300C, which means we must have an A and a B somewhere. $5.45 is the retail price. $4.92 is the wholesale price. And then we have a bunch of other, you know, styles. Here's this gold one with kind of almost like a satin finish on it, but the satin finish is just very, very subtle, tiny, tiny lines that are, well, you wouldn't be able to see it from the naked eye, but gorgeous, right? Satiny beads. The nice thing about these is that you don't get fingerprints on them. KBD 400A, $18.77 is the retail price, and $16.96 is the wholesale price of that gold. Oh, here's a bigger one. Maybe you could see that effect, that satin effect, a little better. Very cool. That's a 5mm bead. KBD 500A. $25 even is the retail price, and $22.59 is the wholesale price. Again, this 18 karat gold beads. These are locked up in one of the displays here at the office. You're welcome to come in and have a look at them close up. This is the same idea, laser cut, I think they call it, although I don't know if they actually use lasers to cut them. Do they? They do. Never mind. So they're actual cut with actual lasers. I'm just geeking out for a minute here. Anyway, it's a round bead with these lovely, I don't know, what you'd call it, you know, back and forth kind of zigzag sort of laser etch on the surface of that. KBD 500C, $26.55 is the retail price. $23.99 is the wholesale price of that one. Here's another great big one that has, you know, it's not quite scalloped, but it's like faux scalloped, laser etched, you know, with these lines, you know, from north to south on that thing. Very gorgeous. Can't go wrong with those. KBD 600, the 6mm bead, quite a bit bigger. $35.01 is your retail price. $31.64 is the wholesale price. I've got a few others here. So I've got these. There's some little tags, they're cute little heart tags. Those aren't beads. That's kind of a component with a hole at either end. But I could pull these out. This is a lovely little flat, spacer. Very the edges just look, I don't know, very refined, very sharp. I guess it's 3.5 millimeters, the outside diameter. $7.36 is a retail price. $4.86 is a wholesale price. And that's like just, I don't know, your kind of quintessential spacer bead thing. Here's something cool. This spacer bead with a loop, on the on one end. So, you string that on, you dangle something from it. 3 millimeter that's the shape of the size of the bead. KBD001, $11.82 is a retail price. $7.99 is a wholesale price. You can still call this a bead. It's a bead with a loop on it. Even though you could use it as a connector component or whatever. There's some more laser etched beads. Very cool. Etching pattern in there, or laser carved pattern. KBD 400H or H, depending where you're from. 4 millimeters outside diameter. That'd be $16.60 is a retail price. $13.51 is the wholesale price of that. You'll be able to see. Oh, here's some bigger ones. You'll be able to see these. That's a great etching pattern. I don't know if you can see that, but it's it looks like, I don't know, squares inside squares inside squares that create a very concentric patterns. Gorgeous. And that would have to be etched by laser on the program. I don't think a human could do that. KBD 600B, $34.04 is a retail price. $30.76 is a wholesale price. 105 minutes. Oh crap! I've gone over again. Like 16 minutes over. That's okay. I think I'm gonna just plan on making these 30 minutes long, and then when they go an hour, I'll be on time. Here's another laser etched bead. God, just love those. Great pattern. 6 millimeter, another 6 millimeter bead. KBD 600G, $33.55 is a retail price, and $30.32 is a wholesale price. Let me just show you one or two more of those, and then we'll try to close it up here. Oh, here's a good one. You can see that, definitely see that satin, sort of pattern, and lovely hole. Oh God, I just love that. Again, that's an effect that's super difficult to make. Although I don't know, laser etched. KBD 600D, $36.96 is the retail price, and $33.40 is the wholesale price. One more. Just going to show you this. What's that? You got to be able to see that. Oh, there we go. Gorgeous! Look at that zigzag pattern on that laser etched bead. That just instantly adds credibility to whatever you put that in. Wow, love that. But I'm a sucker for cool things. KBD 600C, so it's another 6 millimeter. $34.04 is a retail price. $30.76 is the wholesale price. Right, and that's, I'm not going to get too far afield with these things, but just again, gold beads. We got tons of gold beads. 18 karat gold. So Somebody wants to. Oh, here's more of those. Just the plain rounds, tiny plain rounds. Smallest one that we have of that is right 2 millimeter, right, plain round, 18 karat gold. $3.60 is the retail price. $2.25 is the wholesale price. KR200Y. So again, not expensive to get into solid gold accents in your pieces. Oh, I'm going to be totally remiss if I don't show you the one here. Let me just do this. So we've got these beads that that are letters and numbers, right? They're kind of square beads, kind of roundish squares, pretty good size holes, so they'll fit on those. I'm going to say it, those Pandora bracelets. They're really great. I've got these in two sizes. The big size is 8 millimeter. $6.61 is the retail price. $3.97 is the wholesale price. The smaller, right, the bigger ones are 8 millimeter. The smaller ones are 6 millimeters. The smaller ones are $3.44 is the retail price, and $2.06 is the wholesale price. And if I remember correctly, when I was entering these, maybe no, I think they're all the same. Yeah. Too many beads. Too many beads. Oh, look at that. Oh, see, here's one of those. This is when you think of granulation, right? This is what you think of, Bali, those Bali style beads, right? Where it's just two domes of sterling silver soldered together, and then, a little ring soldered to each side, rings in the center. These little shapes are all added after, these little dots are all added after the fact, right? So you make thousands of these little tiny dots separately. And then you just solder them to the outside of these caps, and you can make this gorgeous, gorgeous. That's like a classic Bali bead right there. 15 millimeters, so a good sized one. SB4551, $23 is the retail price, and $15.33 is the wholesale price. Right, and oh, so many I wanted to talk about that I'm too late thing and stuff, but I just love this bead, right? This is the bead itself is like a spider web, and there's a lovely spider on there, right? SB2176 is the code number. $7.09 is the retail price. $4.91 is the wholesale price. So what are we now? We're August, so there's plenty of time. Halloween is coming up. An ear wire, a little length of chain. Maybe a couple lengths of chain with some eye pins holding the pieces together to make the chains look like spider webs, and then you can string this somewhere inside there. It's a winner. You'll win every contest. So obviously there's lots and lots and lots more things that I'm not able to get to. I'm trying to keep these under an hour. I'm failing miserably at keeping them under an hour. There were no questions today. Why? Nobody's asking any questions. I'm mesmerizing. I know. I can be that way. Although, bead questions are not, all that common. Oh, crap, I didn't talk about any of these. I'm going to do this. I don't care how long we're on here. So we have a bunch of these, gorgeous, big tube, curved tube beads. I'm not going to go, too deeply into each one, but we've got so many different, very cool, patterns, and styles of these things. I pulled out a bunch of them to look at, but I'm going to show you this one only because, right? So here's a lovely bead, right, with a It's got that thing, so if you could put a pretty wide thing. We had a customer, and I think there's a picture of it on the website in the custom. Oh, I don't know where it is, but I think there's a picture of it somewhere because she sent us pictures, and I thought they were awesome. She soldered, a stone setting, just one of the plain stone settings to the outside of this, and then mounted a stone on that, and just instantly turned it from an amazing tube bead that only cost her $13.14, and the setting was probably another $3 or $4. So for under $20, she had this amazing centerpiece that she used in a lovely necklace. And I feel like we have a picture of that somewhere on the website.
Yes, I
yeah,
remember.
Yeah. There's a blue stone. Anyway, if you look on the website somewhere, I think it's in the custom
Customer.
in the custom order section. I think you'll see it there. Yeah. So it's always great to kind of take these things and use them just as they are. But I always find it way more interesting when people take our things and use them not as they're intended. Something about the creative mind that lets people take things that are simple, that are obvious, to be used in one way, and put different things that you wouldn't think to put together. They'll just put them together and make something awesome out of it. And sometimes you can't even remember what the original things were for, because it's so obvious when you see them put together in a different way. If that makes sense. Anyway, neither here nor there. I think I'm going to call it for today. Thanks for joining us again. If you share the live stream, make sure you think we'll know. We'll send you one of these polishing cloths. If you have any questions, I feel like there was a question somebody asked. Not on the, it wasn't on the live stream. I feel like it was on the asked on the website on the live chat and the thing. And I thought, I should write this down because it's a good thing that for everybody to know. But I've already forgot, so never mind. Could have been important, but it's probably not. We're here every Wednesday morning at 10:30 Pacific time. So figure out whatever time zone you're in. Hopefully we'll see you at shows again, I hope before the end of the year, but if not, definitely next year. We'll have vaccines and everything. Although I had, some places like, especially the West Coast, I think we're doing pretty good. I don't think it would be that, dangerous to have things as long as everybody wore masks and, I don't know. Not a public health official, but I just miss doing shows. I miss seeing the people. I miss setting stones for you guys. Suddenly everybody's so happy when they leave the booth, which is as it should be. We will see you soon. I don't think there's anything else I should have said. If you have any questions, you can either keep them for next week or email them to me, mark@canadafindings.com. Visit the website, SilviaFindings.com. Look for beads, and you'll see way more beads than I was able to cover today. But I hope it was informative. I hope you saw some things maybe you wouldn't have seen, or saw some ways to use things maybe you hadn't considered, saw some things that, oh gosh, look at that bead.
Chicken.
Dragon bead. I know, I'm so easily distracted. I was probably, what's that bird that loves shiny things? That always steals them. Look at that. This great big huge bead with a dragon all the way around it. There's another bead somewhere that I'm not going to try to look for it. That dragon bead, $37.98 is retail price, $23.74 is a wholesale price. SB 4555. There's a big Buddha bead, big smiling happy Buddha sitting there, and you can make a pair of earrings with that and rub his belly anytime you're feeling unlucky, and that'll help you. Anyway, I know every week I do this. I go to say goodbye, and then I end up, going into 100 different tangents. But this is my life. This is who I am. So. Thanks for joining us again. We'll see you next week at 10:30. Again, if you have any questions, we're always here, either through Facebook or on the website or, the live chat. Don't try the live chat at like 2 in the morning because nobody's going to answer. Well, Marvel might. I don't know. He didn't hear. He never sleeps. Marvel never sleeps. I sleep. I sleep pretty well. Or just call. We're always here. Well, we're not always here. We're here during the day. I'm always here during the day. And hope to see you again soon. And if not, we'll see you on the live stream here, SilviaFindings live stream next Wednesday, 10:30. I said that too many times now. I'm feeling weird. Okay. Have a great day. Have a great weekend. Keep being creative. Stay safe and have fun. And we'll see you next time. Bye. Okay, we're off.